ever feel like you're just completely hitting your head against a glass ceiling? Like you're doing all the work, going above and beyond, exceeding expectations. But that promotion just feels so far away.
Definitely.
Well, today we are going to dive deep into that frustrating situation.
Yeah.
We're using this career guide we found that just kind of tackles this head on,
Okay.
And it's really all about why some managers just seem completely allergic to giving promotions.
Yeah.
But more importantly, what you can do about it.
It's a super common thing, and it can be so disheartening.
Yeah.
Like, you're ready, you want to step up, but your manager just, hasn't caught up yet.
The guide actually makes a pretty good analogy. It's kind of like when you hesitate to delegate a task, even though you know someone else could totally handle it.
Right. You're thinking well, what if we don't do it my way,
Exactly.
Some managers, they just apply that same thinking to promotions. You know what I mean?
I see.
They get comfortable with you in your current role. They might be scared of losing a good employee, having to train a new person.
Right.
Or even facing competition from you if you move up the ladder.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's not even about our skills or if we're ready. It's their own issues, really.
Yeah, it's their own roadblocks sometimes.
That's wild.
Of course, there are also practical factors.
Yeah, right.
Limited budgets,
Right.
Company policies, maybe even they just haven't had good leadership training. But even just understanding the psychological barriers can really help you strategize.
Okay, so knowing all of that, what is the proactive game plan? Because we can't just sit around and hope that our manager suddenly sees the light, right?
No, you've got to be the one who's in charge of your career path.
Right, okay.
This guide is all about taking charge, right?
Yeah.
And the first thing they say is music to my organized ears. Documentation is key.
Okay, beyond just my to-do list, how does documentation play into getting promotions? I'm thinking a spreadsheet just overflowing with every task I've ever done.
You got to think bigger.
Okay.
It's about showcasing your impact, not just the tasks,
Right. Okay.
It's about proving that you're not just doing the work, but that you're actually driving results.
I see.
The kind that a leader delivers.
Okay.
Remember, you want a leadership role, right?
Right.
So show them you're already thinking like one.
Okay.
Let's say, for example, you streamline some process and save the company money. Don't just tell them that. Quantify it.
Yeah.
My initiative led to a 10% reduction in operational costs.
Gotcha. So it's less of a I'm a hard worker and more I'm a valuable asset and I get results.
Well, data is your friend here.
I like it.
Now, at some point, you will have to have the promotion conversation with your manager.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, no, it can be nerve-wracking.
My palms are already sweating.
But you're not alone,
I had this conversation once and I just fumbled all over my words and it felt like I was pleading instead of a strategic discussion.
Yeah.
So any tips for keeping the nerves at bay?
It's all about the framing. Instead of saying, I want this, I want that title or I want the money.
Okay.
Emphasize the value that you bring.
I see.
Explain how a promotion fits into your career goals.
Yeah.
And how you're ready to take on more responsibility.
Okay.
And how you're ready to contribute at a higher level.
So less, I deserve this, and more, here's how we both benefit,
Yeah, you want to make it a win-win.
A win-win, I like it.
Exactly. And while you're building that case, you've got to actively seek out challenges, stuff that pushes you beyond your current role.
Like volunteering for the project that everybody is avoiding.
That's the one. Think of it this way. It's definitely outside your comfort zone.
Right.
But that is how you catch the attention of the higher-ups.
I see.
You're showing leadership potential,
Yeah.
tackling the tough stuff that nobody else wants.
Okay.
It shows initiative and that you're willing to go above and beyond.
Okay, stepping up and showing, not telling.
Yes.
Now, the guide also mentions something called a personal development plan. Sounds very official.
It is. It's a super powerful tool. Basically, it's like a roadmap that you create with your manager.
Okay.
It outlines your specific goals, timelines, skills you want to develop.
Right.
And how those tie into your career growth at the company.
So it's not just me saying, hey, I want to move up. It's like we have a structured document.
Yeah.
That's making it harder for them to ignore my ambitions.
Exactly. And it shows commitment and that you are taking the initiative.
Yeah.
It also forces a conversation about your development, which is what you want.
That's a good thing. Now, we do need to acknowledge a bit of a difficult reality here.
Oh, okay.
What's the reality check in this situation?
Sometimes, even when you do everything right,
Yeah.
it truly is just a dead end. Maybe it's the manager. Maybe it's the company culture. Maybe there just really aren't growth opportunities.
Why?
It happens.
So how do we know when we're in that unfortunate situation?
Ask yourself some tough questions.
Okay.
Have you tried every single option within your team
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Okay.
Did all the documentation, had the conversations, sought out those extra challenges,
Yeah.
and are there even opportunities to advance in the company structure?
Right.
And bigger picture, do you feel valued and appreciated?
Okay, those are some big questions. And
Yeah.
if the answers aren't that promising,
Yeah,
what then? Do we just like start polishing the resume and sending it out?
not so fast.
Okay.
There are a few more things before you hit that eject button, so before you launch your resume into the abyss, right?
Yeah, okay.
Let's look at a few other options first. One is internal transfers.
The classic, the grass is greener
Yeah.
strategy.
Yeah.
See if a different department has, more fertile ground.
Yeah. It's more than just a scenery change, though. It's about strategically position yourself within the company.
Right, right.
Are there any teams that are known for promoting from within? Or managers that have a good reputation for developing their people?
Yeah.
You want to focus on those.
So it's not just a lateral move. It's really about finding that manager who's going to champion your growth.
Right. Sometimes all you need is just a different perspective, like a manager who actually sees your potential and is willing to actually help you, grow.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so what if you've kind of exhausted all of those internal options and you still feel like you're just stuck?
Then we can start talking about looking outside the company.
That can feel like a big leap, especially if you've been with the same company for a while.
Definitely a big decision, but sometimes it's just what you need, to unlock that potential.
Right.
Think about it this way. You've been working on your skills, getting all that experience, building your track record. Now it's time to take all of those assets and see what other opportunities are out there.
It's funny how the guy talks about this fear that managers have of losing a good employee.
Yeah.
It's like they create this self-fulfilling prophecy by holding people back.
Yeah. Total catch-22. They want to keep their top performers, but they're also scared of all the disruption that a promotion might bring.
Yeah.
And the irony is that that stagnation, that's often what drives those people to leave in the first place.
So it's almost like we should do a preemptive strike, start exploring those external options before we get to that point of burnout.
Exactly. Always keep your options open. Even if you're not actively looking to leave, keep your resume updated, network, and stay informed about what other companies are doing.
Knowledge is power.
Always.
Speaking of knowledge, I bet our listener persona is loving this information gathering stage, just soaking it all in. The guide also mentioned something that might appeal to that kind of entrepreneurial spirit too. Side hustles.
Yeah. Side hustles can be an amazing way to just explore your interests, try out new skills, and you might even make some money.
Right.
Outside of your job.
It's like a pressure valve almost. If you're feeling stifled at work, a side hustle is a great way to channel your energy into something you're excited about.
And who knows, that side hustle might actually turn into a full-time gig.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
The point is you've got options. You don't have to just sit there and accept a bad situation.
Right. Okay, so let's say we've tried all that, the internal transfers, looking for something new, maybe we even have a side hustle.
Yeah.
But we still feel stuck. Is there a point where we just have to have that, last resort conversation with our manager? Where we just lay it all out?
It's a conversation you got to be careful with,
Right? Yeah.
But sometimes you just can't avoid it. It might not be as bad as you think, though.
Okay, so how do we even begin to approach that conversation?
So first you got to, remember what your goal is. Do you just want to, vent?
Yeah.
Or do you actually want to try and change things?
Right. I'm guessing ranting and raving is probably not going to be productive.
Probably not.
Yeah.
You got to be calm. You got to be clear. You got to be professional.
Okay.
Frame the conversation around, your career goals and what's blocking you from getting there.
I see.
Focus on the solution, not on blaming anyone.
Right.
Ask some questions like, are there any possibilities for me to grow within the team?
Yeah.
Are there any upcoming projects I could take on that would give me more responsibility?
So it's really about opening up a dialogue and not, giving an ultimatum.
Exactly. You might even be surprised at how it turns out.
Yeah.
Your manager might not even know how ambitious you are or what you're struggling with.
Right.
It could be the start of some really positive changes in your current role.
But what if it doesn't go well? What if they are open to it, but, there really are limitations?
Always then you'll know for sure,
Yeah.
You'll know where you stand. Then you can make a clear decision about what you need to do next. Sometimes walking away is the right answer, even if it's hard.
Yeah. It's like they say, sometimes you got to leave the table to get served. If
Hmm.
you're not getting, what you need, the growth or just that recognition, then maybe it really is time to go find a table that values you.
Oh, that's a good analogy. And this guide, it's not just about finding a new job. It's about realizing your worth.
Yeah.
Don't just settle for feeling like stuck and unappreciated.
It really is empowering. This whole deep dive has like totally reframed things for me.
Uh-huh.
It's not about just sitting back and being passive or waiting for things to just happen. You have to be the one to make the changes.
You have so much more control than you think. And even if this promotion doesn't work out the way you want,
Yeah.
all those skills you've been working on, the documentation, the communication, the strategic thinking,
Right.
those are all things you take with you.
It's like leveling up in a video game. Even if you haven't beaten the boss yet, you still gain experience.
Yeah, I like that. You're becoming a much more well-rounded professional no matter what happens.
Right, right.
And that brings us back to that original problem, the promotion-averse manager.
Okay, so after all this awesome advice, how do we tie it all back to that initial frustration?
If you're dealing with that kind of manager, remember you have options. Like we went over them all.
Right.
Internal transfers, maybe looking for something outside the company, or a side hustle to keep those passions going.
Uh-huh.
And you know how to have that conversation with your manager.
Right. That last resort conversation could really change everything.
Yeah,
It might open some doors you didn't even know existed, or it might just confirm that it's time to move on.
exactly. And sometimes moving on to a company that really sees your talent, that's the best way to advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
It's not about like burning bridges. It's about knowing what you're worth and looking for a place that will help you grow.
It's true. It's like they always say, when one door closes, a whole bunch more open up.
I love that.
Yeah.
And remember, this whole thing has been about learning and growing.
Right.
Even if things don't work out exactly how you planned, there's always something you can learn.
So for everyone listening who might be feeling stuck, what would you say is the most important thing to take away from this deep dive?
You are not alone. This happens to a lot of people, and you have the power to change it. You've got all the tools you need to create a fulfilling career path.
Right?
Don't be afraid to stand up for yourself, see what's out there, and make those big moves when you need to.
That's a really great point to end on.
Yeah.
It's not about just accepting a bad situation. It's about taking charge and making your own future the one that you actually want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep going after what you want in your career.